Welcome to Yeshiva Daf Shir Span Sulin Yishmas Arbiak Shalom Nav Basitzchuk. We're holding in Metzia Daf Kuvov. We're starting in the Mishnah in Daf Kuf Ham with base in the bottom. Says the Mishnah, "V'kabel soda mechaveru ochla chogov u'nishtivo." Someone is accepting to take care of the field. Does a deal with his friend, and the field is being destroyed. The tvu is being destroyed either by a chogov, either by locust, or nishtivo, it dries out. If it's all over, so then you don't pay as much to the owner. And if it's only not a makas medina, not a makas for the whole world, as well, the Gemara is going to explain in a moment. It's only for this person. So then we have the rule. This is what this Mishnah is based on. Mazol chagorim. It's your mazel. So you have to still pay. The rent still has to pay. If the agreement is he doesn't pay grain, he pays money, so then he does have to pay because the money was not hurt. What was hurt was the tful. That has nothing to do with the payment. Now Rashi says this talking about over here only chakira, only by renting. Because then the question is, do I decrease the amount of rent or not? But if you talk about kablanos of a sharecropper, then there's no point in saying that. Because anyway, you pay only a portion of the field. That's how Rashi runs. And the Rambam, as we do it, they said this talk about kablanos as well. How the Gemara said earlier that the Mishnahs of this parak going forward are speaking only by chakira or kablanos, not about both. So the Nesekerim and the Rambam explain that according to the Rambam, it doesn't mean it doesn't go on both. It means there's no chiddush to say it in both. But they could apply to both. Question, what does it mean chiddush? The Achronim explained according to the Rambam, so what does it mean by sharecropper? Anyways, paying his portion. So some explain the idea has to do with expenses, because there are some expenses that the sharecropper has to put into the field. Who pays for the expenses? So can he go back to the owner and say, you help me pay for the expenses? The Even HaEzel says the sharecropper also has some kind of a watermark that needs to reach. He gets 30% if he produces X. He gets 50% if he produces more. So here you could say, it's not my fault, and the rest should get more. So then, what's the case of makas medina? The majority of the valley got dried out. That's what Rashi learns. Ruba de Bago means the valley, this valley. As the Vilna Gaon points out, although we shouldn't learn Ruba de Bagay means most valleys in the area. 4 fields from 4 corners of this field get dried out. The Pashas many Rishonim learn this is the machlekes of Rabbi Yehuda and Ula. Some say that, but according to the Rif, it isn't. So he doesn't bring Ula Halacha because he passes like Rabbi Yehuda. In Maro, they asked the question: what happens if only one row got dried out around the field, not the entire field? Or what happens if the 4 fields around this field got dried out, but there's one row which is okay, and that's the one which is on the border? What happens if between the dried fields there's a field which is bur, which was never planted? So that field did not dry out because nothing grew there. But the first field close to the field, the subject field that is planted is nishdaf. Aspasto mine daf kuvom davandal. What happens if the field is made for shachat, not for straw? Does that count towards it? Zerachemai. What happens if it's a different type of zera? He planted a flax. If you need to be the same zera, what happens to wheat and barley? They're considered to be the same. Or Lord, maybe not. Two different types of dryness. Shidofin means that there's a wind that makes everything dry. Yeroka means that the tvu itself gets dry. If they both go dry but in different ways, is that considered to be makas medina or not? Or the opposite. Same word take. All these cases we're not so sure, is that considered to be makas medina or not? Just interesting, there's a famous Taz that says, why do you say kol oilam kulu? Just say oilam kulu, but it's kol oilam kulu. It says because if now you go based on the roiv, that's what we say in Rosh Hashanah, meloich al kol oilam kulu. We say kol twice. But here, l'chur, roiv is enough. So some of the Acharim asking the Tasha, Mar Gemara, why did it say kol kul over here? Interesting, yeah. He told him, go plant wheat. And he went and planted barley. Most of the valley got dry. And also his barley got dry. Could you tell him, listen, if I plant wheat, it would be the same thing. So no, if it would be wheat. So I have a special pasuk. The tigzor karmlach. Rashi knows the tigzor karmlach over here. Rashi tvekesh b'nei yoytze yasa. We daven to Hashem, will do for you. V'ani lebikash v'shoram b'tches hashon sheyatzani sheyitzlechem soirim ele b'chitim. So a tremendous yisoid over here. It says, I went and daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be successful with wheat. You put barley. Maybe my tefillah was effective for wheat, not for barley. So when we stop with the Omalei, is Ratachita Mekayim Bitikso Oimer Kaim Lech Valdrochecha Noigar, that's Hemshech HaPasuk. Meaning, even though the entire world was getting dry, maybe my tefillah worked. But my tefillah was very specific. It was for wheat, not for barley. You have to be very specific. This is, when we speak about the Shomach Shom on the Daf, the Zoya brings that when Yaakov says that Seleini no miyad ochim miyad esov, so the Zoya, you have to be very specific in your davening. You have to say exactly what you want. So here you're saying, I want wheat. Wheat you get, not barley. So he says, you planted barley, maybe my davening works for wheat. We'll see a little bit more about this as we get to the end of the Amud. So when Ishtatu kol sadoyso shemachir, what happens if the machir, the landlord, he has many other fields, they all got dry. The Ishtatu gnami obadan, this one also got dry, but velo Ishtatu from the bagir. The rest of the valley did not get dry. My. Because we say the most of the valley did not get dry. So you say, this is not Makas Medina. Maybe it's your fault for the one who's renting. We're dealing with also, maybe because the lands of the land got dry. You say that's your fault. Your fields got dry. So Mishtab says, no, the landlord can say, who said? Yes, most of my fields got dry. But maybe Akash Baruch Hu would leave me one to stay with. Some stays, at least something stayed for me. Maybe this is the one, but because of you, you ruined it. Now what happens if the renter, the tenant, the chayker, his other fields got dry. He owns other fields got dry. This one who's renting got dry as well, and you have the bagi. Because most of the valley got dry. Minakili, you take it out. Because it's his lands. It's your lands that got ruined. Most of your lands got dry. So you say it's the fault of the chayker. If it's because of you, because of me, why didn't you say this as far as before? Maybe everything will get ruined except this field. Because he told him, this field doesn't belong to you, you're only renting here. Because Baruch would leave you something, it would be something you own. He says, what about the owner? The owner is still the owner of the field. Here, this is not his field. Now we're talking about, in the time of the Yovel, when a person sells a field, it gets back to him in the Yovel. He can come and redeem it, take it back early, after 2 years. 2 years he has to leave it by the buyer. Now what happens if one of these 2 years was Shidov and Yerokan, the tvu is dry, or Shvi, so Shvito, or Shayusharim Kishnei Eliyo, or it's like years of Eliyo, that the whole world, there's a drought and there's no food. You don't take it out of you don't count, there's one of the 2 years, and you need to count another year. It says Shidov and Yerokan like Kishnei Eliyo. There's no tvu at all. Nobody has tvu. But if there is tvu somewhere, you say that's good enough. Look at me in Makas Medina. You don't say, oh, the whole world, or it's Makas Medina. Many people are suffering, so we're not counting it. Why by us we do count there not? Why here we say it's Makas Medina, then we don't say it? Shonim sheyesh ben tvua boilom. It says they're different. Because it says in the pasuk, Shnei Tvuos. Is there Tvuor in the world? If there's Tvuor anywhere in the world, so then you do count these years. What about Shmita? According to what you just said, that we look at the whole world, maybe, so what about Shmita? You have Chutzarts. Only Shviz of Kato de Malkahi. Shviz is as if the kid took it away from him. It's considered to be as if there's nowhere in the world. It's not his mazel. Because Baruch took away Shmita from his hands. Toys points out of here, Toys builds a site that many of the Chaim use. Any other makkah, you have to have the whole world for the years of Yovel. And Shemitah is equivalent to the whole world. Okay, what about Girua? Girua means when someone is Magdish, a Sadeh, during the Yovel, so you can come and redeem it for, the Torah says, 50 Selah, divided, you do it based on the years. How many years do you have till Yovel? 49 years. So it's a 50 Selah divided to 49, comes out to be a Selah Upundion per year. That's the amount, a Cheshbon. Why do you count 49 years? Why do you count Shemitah? Take out Shemitah with the Cheshbon, count only 42 years. Alam Matna Nusin Selah Upundion Lashon. Amal Shani also the Chazal and Mishtachol appears. Says there is different. There when you have a land, you can put fruits on the land you could use the land. But you can use the land to do other things, not the plant. But when we talk about the years of Yovel, it says Shnei Tvuos. It needs to be something you plant. All we talk about that he planted it and it grew and came a locust and ate it. Did not plant it. Says, meaning even if you didn't daven, I have the pasuk. It won't be bad in the time of bad. In the time of hunger, I will be filled. I won't be hungry. Maybe I have that pasuk. If you plant it, maybe I'll be different. Don't tell me everybody else has a shidduch as if you didn't plant. Someone who's a shepherd leaves his flock, comes a wild animal and eats the animals. That's what you saw before. You don't say if you would be there, you were able to save it. See, does he have the ability to hit it or not? He obviously also, you will be there. Maybe be a miracle. You'll be different. You'll be able to fight the lion and the bear. The same Melch was able to fight it. He says, I'll tell you back. If you have a miracle, how? You want to have a miracle? Have a better miracle for you to have. The miracle you should have is the B'chirim B'daiso. What was the B'chirim B'daiso? The mas and easy do b'kanayo. That the goats were able to take the bears in their own head. Why do you need me to fight it? Let the animals fight it. It's more of a neighborlane. Okay, big miracle like the goats. That's something I'm not really to. But the nisa zuto, someone that call base chazino. I can tell you back. I'm sorry. I'm not really to a big miracle, but a small miracle, yes. Similar question. You're right. It's a good question. Meaning, if I can have a taina, then I could be having a miracle. I'm different than anybody else. So then maybe you could fight the lion and the bear. And you can't ask me, so maybe the goat should fight the animal should fight the lion and the bear. Because that's a big miracle. A small miracle I can ask for. Now, two errors over here in Tesis. And we're on this. Tesis says, we have the mission of Tzad Gimel that says that the lion was there and he was too scared. So it's oinus. Why is oinus? You should have tried to fight it. So this thing, the big insight. The insight is, when you have a miracle, it's not enough to have the miracle. You also have to have the courage to use the miracle. Part of the miracle is that Baruch Hu gives a person the das to go and use it. If the shepherd is there and he sees a lion, doesn't have the courage to fight against the lion, that means he doesn't have the miracle. So if he would have the miracle, he would know he can fight the lion. You know, the Bala Nes knows that he has the ability to fight the lion and the tiger and the bear. Now, the second Nekuda here, as we mentioned before, Tosis asks, we said, if you said wheat, you down for wheat, maybe the boy is not growing. So he says, over here he said he didn't plant it at all. But maybe the guy davened that something should grow. Right? He also, maybe he could say, Jay says, my kasho, I'm really late. The chiyom lezor chit lezor sorry vishtaduf. To what you only right? We said before you could I daven for wheat. For koshka shel lezor cloud. So he says maybe you daven for it. It says talk about your case. He said you can plant whatever you want. You don't have wheat or barley, and therefore what? It says Taisus. So you didn't daven for anything specific. He davened and I don't care what will be planted. That doesn't work. Now you can't say my krach tefillah would be good. The tefillah works only when you're specific. I want this item. And this is what we'll speak about the Shom Machshava, what the Sefer Chasidus bring. The person has to know what he's talking about. Achat shalti, I know what I'm talking about. If you daven for something which is too klali, you don't know what you're talking about specific, then the tefillah is not as effective. You can't come and claim, I daven for it, maybe it'll be better. You should try to plant it twice, not a third time. You plant the third time, not a fourth time. So look, Hakabi don't treat in the chazok. Rebbe holds the chazok is established 2 times. Hakam Shimon Gamliel don't but plus in the chazok. 3 days you have to have in order to do chazok. So how many days you try to plant before you give up and say it gets dry? It's only if you planted it grew and the locust ate it. You planted it and nothing grew. You have to go plant it all the days of planting. How long is the days of planting? Until people come, until the workers come from the field. The kaimu kima rishayo, and kima is on their head. Now you go into the whole cheshbon. Rashi explains the kima is on the head is in chodesh adar when they come back on the 10th hour of the day. Kima is the end of Mazel Toleh. Does the cheshbon, the Mazel Toleh ends its cycle at the 10th hour of the day? So kima is overhead on their head then. Tosfos asks, the workers don't come at the 10th hour of the day, they come on the 12th hour of the day, the end of the day. So therefore he says it's not chodesh adar, it's not chodesh, it's chodesh shvat, when kima is in the end of the day. And Tosfos has no problem with Rashi regarding how he defines kima, which we're not going to go into right now. And they learn from the Pesukim that says by end of Noach. By end of Noach is what will promise that the world will continue to function. And it says there's 6 times that the world will have. The more now comes and explains. Chatzi Tishrei, Macheshvan, Chatzi Kislev. Half of Chodesh Tishrei, Cheshvan, half of Kislev. That's called the Zera. That's the time you plant. Chatzi Kislev, Tev, Chatzi Shvat is Choyev. That's the winter. And Choyev is Lashon Charifus. Lashon strength. That's the strength of the winter when the things that you plant take root. Chatzi Shvat, Odeh, Chatzi Nisan. These months, Choyev, that's cold. When it stops being so cold, it's the end of the winter, and that's the end of the planting season. Chatzi Nisan, Iyar, Chatzi Sivan, Kotchev. It's time of harvest. Chatzi Sivan, Tammuz, Chatzi Av, kites. That's when you dry the figs in the field. Next stage after harvest. And Chatzi Av, Elu, Chatzi Tishrei, Choyim. It's the end of the summer. It's heat. It's not as strong, and that's the end of that kufa. And as we know, we learn Masechtas Taanis that from Tu B'Av, that's when the strength of the sun is not as strong. Read the Moinim Tishrei. Yeshiva Moinim Mecheshvan. We learn from Tishrei, as we said, half Tishrei starts the cycle. Yeshiva starts from Mecheshvan, for half of Cheshvan. In any case, the time of Zerah planting, Man Mekel Mikol, who's the one who is the most Mekel, most lenient? Yeshiva. The Kula Ayla Kamar. He didn't say, he said Chatzi Cheshvan, Kislev Chatzi Tevis. Not until Shvat like Tosfos, or until other like Rashi regarding when you plant it. What's the Tkufa planting? Says the Gemara Holy Kasha. How the Kibla Minei Bechafer, the Kibla Minei Be'afa. Depends which type of planting you're doing. Are you doing the early planting? That's only in Cheshvan Kislev. But if you start doing about the later planting, then we're talking about even later in the winter. So if he paid with money, then he can't say there was a dry because mois is good enough. The mois did not get it destroyed. Who got there was a story? Who got this person? The Kabil Ar the Mizrael Beutumi Agudu Dinar Malko. He had to go and plant onions on the banks of the river. It's called Nar Malko Sabo. Bezuzi, and to pay money. He's stuck in Nar Malko Sabo. They put a dam on the Nar Malko Sabo. The water did not flow there. Also, come in there, get in front of Rava. It's not a normal thing to be seicher, to put a dam on the river. Makas Medina, it's Makas Medina. Zil noculate, you don't have to pay the full rent. We learned if he's paying money, then you don't decrease the amount of the rent. Nobody agrees with Rav Yehuda, meaning we don't pass like Rav Yehuda. Therefore, it doesn't matter if you pay with tool or with money. You always have to. You don't say makas. You don't differentiate to makas medina. You don't have to pay. So the Mishnah, he accepted himself to plant the field and pay 10 kor for a year. The luxor and got damage. You pay from the wheat that grew, even though it's bad wheat. If it's extraordinary good wheat, don't say, I'll pay you from the market, not from the field. Always the owner of the field has the right to take from the field. So the story, this person, the Kabil Aro Las Pasto, he accepted a field to plant asbestos, a type of greenery. The Kuri Desire, paying with barley, but not to plant barley, just to pay with barley. After aspasto, he grew aspasto, the chorsho, he plowed the zor and he planted. What did he plant? Sari, barley. The local one is sorry, the barley got hurt. Sholchav Chavivo Misur, 1 minute, 1 second. Sholchav Chavivo Misuro, the product came in front of Ravino. Ki I gave no mind. What do you do? What do you do with this? Ki lokso noisel misoichodami. Do I say you could pay from the field because the barley grew in the field? Oy loy, or maybe not. Here, the owner told him to plant pasta, not barley. So he planted pasta. Barley he never told him to do. So you can't pay him from barley if that was not the deal. The deal was he's going to pay barley for the market. Here Rashi says the paradis means a vineyard. So he gave him the vineyard to pay 10 barrels of wine. The wine went spoiled. So kind of name I was teaching. Look so nice to me. I can pay you with the wine. Here it's not the land. The land grew grapes. That was good. The wine was already a process. So one that ruined the wine wasn't the person himself, the land. It was already the sharecropper. And yet you can't say it's your fault. We do agree with growing grapes. They get destroyed. And the field and the barley was so the shloka bo'amaria, as Rashi says, meaning sometimes the field grows. There's 3 stages. Things grow in the field. That's of course the fault of the sun. Then you have things that you have to just put in the field to dry. That's the middle ground. And then there's things that go through a process, like wine, like oil. Wine and oil is not part of the sodeh. That's the fault of the sharecropper. The middle ground, says Rav Ashi, that is part of the sodeh. And then you can tell him it's your sodeh. Okay, we'll end with this thing and this daf. Continue the next daf.